Hello and welcome to another Fountain Insight video. Today I've got my groovy headset on in the new office, not filming in my bedroom finally. And it's a great pleasure to be joined by Rob Sandbach, MD of Indie Spring and CTO of Gratu. Today, Rob and I are going to be having hopefully an interesting value-adding conversation around the future of apps. And Rob, I really want to kick off with this question to reaffirm, why do businesses need to be taking apps seriously? Like what? Because I feel like so many people are getting it wrong, aren't they?
They are, Chris. Yeah, and firstly, thanks to you and everyone listening. Yeah, it's interesting. Apps they've had a bit of a bad rap, haven't they? I think we've seen the challenges that come with just taking whatever your web experience is and wrapping it in an app and banging it on the app store and delivering a pretty underwhelming experience. So, my answer to that would be, in the case of application development, it's a bit of a case of go big or go home. I think you need to decide why you're doing an app. You really need to decide if your business needs an app. And if it does, you need to invest in it, and you need to view it as more than just another replica channel that happens to sit in the App Store for reasons that we'll come on to. But
so, I was just going to say, Rob, that's such a good point. What are the classic case studies for needing an app? Because I feel like businesses still don't quite understand when is the point to get an app.
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, we sort of group it into 5 categories when we're talking to clients, and most successful apps will hit one or more of them. I mean, the obvious one is if your product is an app. I mean, let's part that one. But something like Uber or Tinder, well, by necessity, they are apps. I think what will be more interesting to listeners of this podcast will be, the first one is the obvious one that people think of, the improved user experience. You have to accept with an app that there is a huge barrier to entry. You've got to get people over to the App Store, downloading the app, find the app, open the app, register. But once you've got them over that hurdle, the experience you can offer them, just purely from an interface perspective, still cannot be matched by a web experience. And I'll upset some people saying that, but it's simply not the case. And so for businesses that have multiple transactions with their customers over a long lifespan, having an app makes sense if you want to make that as painless and seamless as possible when people are using the handsets. The second one is if you want to expand your offering across mobile devices, another obvious one. Typically media apps, Netflix, Spotify, that kind of thing. Clearly, if they want users to be able to engage in their services when on the move, an app's the best way to do that, particularly if it can function offline. The third one is if you're offering some sort of utility. So if your app does something or enables something that only a mobile device can do, then clearly that's a great use case for an app. So that might be data collection within a factory, walking around connecting to Bluetooth emitters. That might be something like Sonos to connect to and set up your Sonos system. It might be Fitbit to connect to your Bluetooth device and so on. Clearly, that's a use case. And the last one that we're seeing more and more of is where it's replacing single-purpose devices. So this is more business focused, which we will come on to, which is our focus here at Indie Spring. But typically, one example might be in museums and heritage sites, you have those audio guides. Well, those devices cost well over £1,000 each, which is just unaffordable and unsustainable. Whereas a mobile app could replace that. And you can either buy, cheaper devices and then hand them out yourselves, or you can invite your guests and users to come to the party with their own devices. And that applies to barcode scanners, that applies to all sorts of different devices that industry has to buy at the moment for many thousands of pounds, which can be replaced with cheaper off-the-shelf devices. So long answer to a simple question, but that's how we sort of view the world of apps at the moment.
Brilliant. Thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate it, because I think a lot of people are still confused in the area. Rob, where are we at now in the world of apps? Because I feel like things have changed so fast, even in the last 12 or 18 months because of the pandemic. But certainly in the last 2-3 years, we've seen some pretty explosive growth, I think, in the world of apps. Would you agree with that? And what sort of things have you seen?
Yeah, I mean, if you think of the sort of classic hype curve, there was definitely, some people call it the golden age of apps. I'm not sure I agree, but there was certainly a hype around them probably 10 years ago or so. And I think we've passed through the trough of disillusionment. And as you rightly point out, Chris, I think people are starting to figure out now where an app makes sense and when it makes sense. I think looking forward, sure, the user experience bit's well understood at this stage. What people are figuring out now is what opportunities and what opportunities are available that are only available through a handset, or through these, say, personalization or notification systems or location services or Bluetooth and so on. And I think the future of apps is in businesses not just taking what they do on other channels and bringing it to a handset, but actually rethinking, okay, if we have access to the information, we can fundamentally change the way that we do business or engage with the customer. And they're the opportunities that are pretty exciting for us at the moment.
Rob, one of the things that before I got you on, actually, I was just, funnily enough, I was on my phone, of course, everyone is these days. An app that's really stood out to me recently is an app that we've just got here at Fountain called Sign In App, which sounds really simple, but it basically, I don't know if you can see that. This is going to be rubbish for the people that are listening to this on audio, but
Sure.
I'm showing for the people that are, it's basically a geofence sign-in app, right? So as I walk into Fountain, it automatically tracks me in to make sure that people know. So, of course, fire, safety, etc. Everyone knows where everyone is. Are they in the office? Are they not? So there's no need for manual things like that. So that's, I guess, an example of where apps are going, Rob, right?
Yeah,
Internal
so the
app.
traditional approach to that might have been to build a check-in, check-out app that mimics the web functionality. But in that case, someone's rethought it from the ground up and thought, hang on, if we know where people are, then we can use that. One example from our world is telematics-based insurance. It's essentially saying, well, actually, we can use black boxes to track how people drive, but actually the app can do a good enough job that we can understand well enough, understand to a high enough degree how well someone is driving and can risk assess them for insurers. That's great for everyone. It's cheaper for consumers, it's lower premiums, good drivers get rewarded, and insurers have to pay out less. And it's rethinking the industry top to bottom. And that can be used for road tax in the future, that can be used for all sorts. So let's not just present buying a policy online through a mobile interface. Let's think about how we can overhaul the industry and change the way we do business.
Love that, Rob. Love that statement. What are the classic mistakes you're seeing? Like, what are let's have some quick fire here, Rob. Like, just reel out probably the many mistakes that businesses are making in the world of apps right now.
Sure. Adopting them without really understanding why. Most ideas that we get from people and businesses, we suggest to them that they probably don't need an app. You really need a reason to be doing it because the investment is significant. Similar to that, just badging up what you've got, and I'm sounding a bit like I'm flogging a dead horse, Chris, but badging up what you're offering elsewhere, wrapping it in an app. I think we've all experienced those apps that, again, you go through the long, laborious process, downloading, installing, onboarding, and you realize this is just a website wrapped in a
what's the point?
In a wrapper. Exactly. What's the point? And then I think underinvestment in the longer term. I think it's important to understand that the mobile app landscape is evolving at a rate at which the web was probably 20 years or so ago. And so it requires a greater level of ongoing investment. Just in the coming 18 months, we'll have more foldable phones hitting shelves. We'll have new features, new technologies, the dreaded notch and floating cameras that have come out over the past couple of years. Things are evolving so quickly. And when you mix into that the current political landscape and technology companies coming under fire, what will and won't be appropriate in the app stores, what will and won't be regulated by the gatekeepers, I think it's important to understand that a mobile app is not a website in terms of initial investment or ongoing investment.
If there's one thing that people have taken away from this, I hope it is that. Rob, thank you for sharing all your wisdom and insights with us there. Really, really appreciate it. But before I let you crack on with your day, just give us an overview in terms of Indie Spring and also Gratu. I'm really interested in hearing more about that. What do you guys do in terms of solutions to solve your client pains?
Sure. Thanks, Chris. So at Indie Spring, we're about mobile first transformation. So as you probably picked up, we're less focused on the glamorous, sexy marketing-led apps. We're more focused on helping business rethink from the ground up how they can use mobile to transform themselves internally, primarily, but also their customer journeys and so on. So that's our core focus. Gratu is a really interesting partnership that we've got with a wonderful entrepreneur called Renata. She's looking to overhaul the mobile tipping market by bringing a location-based tipping service. So that is, you'll have read a lot of headlines recently about this, but this effectively allows me, Rob, to tip you, Chris, behind the bar directly without it having to go through your employer. That helps for a load of reasons. It helps your employer stay compliant with HMRC. It helps me understand where the money's going. It helps you earn the tips that you're entitled to, and there's a bunch of other benefits. But it's an example of using the location capabilities of handsets and thinking about how can we unlock an opportunity, particularly at the moment as society is moving more and more cashless for obvious reasons, and to support an industry that needs a bit of help at the moment.
Really, really interesting, Rob. As I say, once again, thank you so much for coming on. I do advise anyone that's watching or listening to this right now to make sure that you engage with Rob, go and connect with him on LinkedIn, etc. All of the socials, and go and check out the Indie Spring website and Gratu, of course. Really, really interesting businesses doing some really cool things. Thank you so much, as always, for watching and listening. Don't forget to subscribe to Fountain Partnership on YouTube. If you've enjoyed this video today, give it a like on any of the platforms that you're watching on. And feel free to punch in any questions. I'm sure Rob will be able to jump on and answer anything you've got. Not straight away because he's a busy man, but in a few days. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you all again for another video soon.